Hey, what's up, guys? This is David Chase Taylor of 911truther.org. Today is September 29th of 2025. So, based on breaking news in advance, it appears that CIA headquarters located beneath CERN at Lake Geneva in Switzerland is going to attempt to execute a three-pronged plot on the date of September 30th, 2025, specifically to neutralize U.S. President Donald J. Trump, spawn a second global biological pandemic, and or trigger World War III. So for those of you that are unaware, on the date of September 30th of 2025, U.S. Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth will lead a meeting with hundreds of admirals and generals of the United States Armed Forces at Quantico Marine Base in Triangle, Virginia. This is an unprecedented meeting. Apparently, Hegseth is going to lecture these generals on the warrior ethos. And this meeting is going to be attended by none other than U.S. President Donald J. Trump. And consequently, the CIA plans to execute a three-pronged plot to basically, as I mentioned, to assassinate a sitting U.S. president, spawn a second global biological pandemic, and or World War III. So really quickly, the first leg of this plot is basically they're going to arrest Trump for allegedly attempting to overthrow the U.S. federal government. This is what I'm calling my report. You can find beneath this video. It's called Operation Quantico Coup. So basically, they're going to arrest Trump, likely Pete Hegseth and other members of Trump's inner circle for an alleged coup d'etat plot to overthrow the U.S. federal government. This is going to be a night of the long knives-like purge of the U.S. federal government. And then, of course, Trump will be assassinated in custody. He will never make it to see the inside of a courtroom. He will likely be suicided, or he will die of a medical-related emergency, possibly under the guise of getting in a fight with those who are trying to arrest him. This is specifically why the CIA staged a fight outside of Obama's house between Secret Service agents, and this was designed to foreshadow and set the precedent for an altercation with a head of state that results in his death at a later date. The second leg of this heinous plot is what I'm calling Operation Quantico Storm, which is basically the CIA is going to stage a Russian, so this is going to be either Russian special forces, Russian sleeper cells, Russian sleeper agents, Russian terrorists, but some sort of Russian storming attack targeting Quantico, Marine base, Marine Corps Quantico, if I said that right, in Triangle, Virginia, surrounding this meeting of hundreds of admirals and generals, Pete Hegseth and Donald J. Trump. So basically, this is likely going to be touted as a Spetsnaz, these are Russian special forces, but it's going to be executed by the Israeli Mossad. We know that Benjamin Netanyahu was in Washington, D.C. today, and he's not going anywhere, and him and his henchmen, this whole plane, this huge airliner, I believe it's a Boeing 737, if memory serves, and this is filled up with the best special forces of Israel, Shin Bet, Israeli IDF, Mossad, and these are the Netanyahu, as I said in a previous video, until he leaves the United States, we are not safe because they're going to execute either the U.S. president or they're going to stage some sort of heinous terror attack. So the sooner he goes back to Israel, the better. But these forces are going to storm Quantico, and they're going to massacre hundreds of U.S. servicemen and women, including the Secretary of Defense, as well as the president, and then they're going to blame Russia. Russia. So they're going to assassinate Trump, spawn a second global biological pandemic, and likely trigger the mutually assured destruction scenario between the United States and Russia. Coincidentally, as you'll see in my report, this narrative of Russian sleeper agents living inside the Beltway or in the Washington, D.C. or the greater national capital region is coincidentally featured in the Fox FX series entitled The Americans, about these commies that live in Virginia, coincidentally, where this event is slated to take place. And then also they staged an arrest of 10 Russian sleeper cell, 10 agents in Washington, D.C., I believe, just a few years ago. Okay, the third leg of this heinous plot is what I'm calling Quantico strike. This is where the CIA basically sends a missile, likely courtesy of the Israeli Navy submarine, off the coast of the United States. And this is basically going to be a tactical nuke, an ICBM, but they're going to basically blow up Trump, blow up the base, and basically trigger World War III, basically to decapitate the U.S. government and the U.S. head of the U.S. military, and then the snake that is Netanyahu will seize government control of the United States. So, in leading up to this three-pronged plot to basically by Israel, by the CIA, that's going to be executed on the ground by Israel, is going to be basically executed by Netanyahu and his team that are currently in Washington, D.C. right now as we speak on September 29th for this horrific coup d'etat to decapitate the United States. The CIA has staged a number of events leading up to this in order to sell this notion that there is this ongoing beef between the United States and Russia, which are, aside from Alaska, are literally like Moscow is literally like 10 or 15,000 miles away from Washington, D.C., but nevertheless, they have created this through movies, through the aforementioned television show, and arrests, and all this ongoing beef between the two sides over Ukraine and whatnot, that basically we are at the brink of war. So today is the 29th, so 2 days ago on the 27th, the envoy to Ukraine stated in an interview with Fox News that the Trump administration has authorized Ukraine to execute long-range missile strikes inside Moscow. To translate, this means that Kiev is now going to launch cruise missiles and hyperglide vehicles into Moscow, likely blowing up the Kremlin, those beautiful churches there, or whatnot. The reality is they've been trying to execute this with the Flamingo and a bunch of other different weapons, which I've addressed. But nevertheless, this is breaking news 48 hours ago that Trump has authorized. So Biden previously authorized this when he was in office, and now Trump has authorized this back on the September 23rd. Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky formally asked Trump at the United Nations during their meeting at the United Nations for U.S. Tomahawk cruise missiles. And according to the latest reports, at the time of this video, Trump and J.D. Vance are contemplating selling these weapons to Russia. Back on August 15th, Trump flew B-2 bombers over the head of Putin right prior to their meeting at this Joint Richardson Air Force Base in Anchorage, Alaska. 2 weeks prior, on August 1st of 2025, Trump deployed submarines into Russian waters after his verbal spat with Russian Vice President Dmitry Medvedev. And then, of course, if you go back to April 30th, the U.S. and Ukraine signed a minerals deal. So the CIA has desperately been trying to pit the United States against Russia to basically trigger a war which will predictably result in the mutually assured destruction scenario, because they basically plan on sending a bunch of nukes into the United States and into Russia. And this is going to evidently start on the date of September 30th with this three-pronged plot to trigger World War III between the United States and Russia, featuring a Trump-related arrest and subsequent assassination for an alleged coup plot, a Russian storming attack targeting Quantico, where this unprecedented and historic meeting is going to be held, and or a Quantico strike, which would feature a Russian airstrike against Quantico base. What's important to note here is that in the aftermath of this report, the CIA will likely alter their plot, and they will likely stage a U.S. military, U.S. armed forces related assassination event targeting Trump, possibly an Iranian sniper attack. But as I always say in my videos, this is basically the CIA is going to change the respective patsies, or they'll respect the change of the means by which they execute it. But Donald J. Trump is going to be assassinated on September 30th of 2025. This is going to be via sniper attack. This is going to be via bombing. This is going to be via terror attack. This is going to be via an inside job. This is going to be via some form or fashion. Surrounding this meeting, they're going to basically finish the job which they started with Charlie Kirk. This would mark exactly 20 days since they assassinated Charlie Kirk back in Orem, Utah, back on September 10th of 2025, under a tent which said American Comeback. And that is because Donald J. Trump is going to be assassinated on September 30th of 2025. Surrounding this meeting with these generals at Quantico, so this could be executed under the guise of an accident, as with like Marine One taking a chopper. This coincidentally, Quantico Marine Base is coincidentally located on the Potomac, where this helicopter and plane crashed back on January 29th of 2025. This horrific accident between a United Airlines flight and a U.S. Black Hawk helicopter. And so some sort of an attack on Trump while he's traveling from the White House to Quantico, or returning from Quantico to the White House, is expected. This could be a shoot-down event. This could be a bird strike. This could be a mechanical error. When Trump was in England last week, he was aboard Marine One, and it suffered a hydraulic malfunction, and they had to make an emergency landing. And so some sort of an assassination event is expected surrounding this historic meeting at Quantico. And then what I believe is going to happen is that if they forego the strikes which I've talked about, or the various options, that this is basically going to be J.D. Vance is going to grandstand before all these generals, and this is basically going to be a coming out party for J.D. Vance as the 48th president of the United States. So they're going to knock off Trump before this meeting in some form or fashion, and then J.D. Vance will step in, and then he'll have all the generals in person. I mean, this is a historic meeting, and he's going to have all the generals, and then he'll be able to grandstand and in front of, and then they're going to have all these photographers there, and all the press is going to be there because Trump is dead, right? And so then J.D. Vance will be able to look like a leader and look patriotic, and he will have the support of all the generals, and so it's basically going to be a coup. They're going to execute it one way or another. The scenarios which I've detailed in this video are the most likely, but they're going to overthrow the U.S. government. This is Switzerland and Israel working in hand in tandem to overthrow the U.S. government on the date of September 30th of 2025, resulting in the death, arrest, or assassination of Donald J. Trump, and the crowning of J.D. Vance before hundreds, if not thousands, of admirals and generals of the United States Armed Forces at Quantico Marine Corps Base in Triangle, Virginia, on the date of September 30th of 2025. So obviously, if this comes to fruition in reality, I would kindly ask that you download this video and share it with local, state, and federal law enforcement, military, and intelligence officials, as well as with local, national, and international media outlets. Peace.